Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. Let's just jump right into it. We are on season 6, episode 10, entitled The Aftermath. Aftermath. I think this is the last one before the mid-season finale. So next week, well, this week is the mid-season finale. That's going to be coming up on Wednesday. So let's just jump right into it. We know that in the last episode, Maurice went to the prosecutor and told him that him and Q did it and they put it together, and Sabrina has nothing to do with it. In his feeble attempt to absolve Sabrina of what he's basically kind of roped her into by association, essentially. And so we pick up there, and he's telling the prosecutor, like, yeah, I did it. Whisk me out the jail. She didn't do it. Hurry up and take me to jail. And so the prosecutor is seeming like his story's a little fishy, and he's like, okay, cool. If you and Q planned the whole thing, did the whole thing, can you tell me who are the other players involved? Because there were other people involved in the robbery other than Q, right? And so he can't name the other people because he claims, he doesn't know those people. I told Q to get the people, so I don't know their names. I can't identify them. And he was like, well, you just said that it was your idea. Why wouldn't you know the people's names? Basically just getting to the root of this thinly veiled admission that he's trying to give to the prosecutor. So he's the story's falling apart. It's very thin at best. And so he's like, listen, he can't identify anybody. He shows him pictures, a lineup of different people, and he can't identify anyone from that either. So that tells him, like, listen, you probably weren't the mastermind. Maybe you had something to do with it, but you're not the mastermind. I'm not sure why you're covering for Sabrina, but that's not your ministry. You ain't had nothing to do with that. And so we'll get back to that later in the episode. Aaron calls Pam, and he wants Karen's client list, and he wants that because he wants to see if they'll come help him clean up the shop. And so he's trying to help her save money for her repairs because, we know that there's going to be some repairs that has to happen in order to get the shop back up and running. And Pam tells him, like, listen, you do know that Zach has already offered to help Karen, so cutting costs is not her problem because she ain't footing the bill, essentially, is what she's trying to tell Aaron. And so Aaron tells her, like, listen, he might not be willing to help her anymore after what happened yesterday. And so Pam, being as messy as she is, she has no idea what happened. And so now Aaron has to tell her what happened last night. Right? And so and he says that, Aaron says that because he knows that there was the big knockdown drag out last night, when it comes to the paternity and Fatima and everything that went down. And so, Zach might rescind his offer, today. And so he's trying to get ahead of it, trying to think ahead of the curve and help her out a little bit. And so, he tells Pam a little bit about what happened last night, and Pam reminds him, like, okay, all of that's fine and well, but I want you to know that doing all of this is not going to make Karen want you. It just ain't. It ain't gonna make her want you any more than she doesn't want you right now. And of course, he don't really want to hear that. He just wants to do what he can to help his girl out, and the delusion lives on. So let's move right along. Calvin. Calvin stops by Sabrina's, and he tells her that he told Maurice how much he really is at fault about everything. Now, they have been reminding him up until this point that, you have a role, you got a great percentage of responsibility in this thing. And I guess it was something about Calvin saying that last episode that, bring it home for Maurice. And I guess, brought accountability to his forefront. He's making every attempt to, help Sabrina out because she does not deserve it. Like he said last episode, she doesn't deserve to be tied up in this thing, so he's going to try to figure a way to get her out of it. And so, they're sitting there talking, and she thanked him for always being there for her. And then they're small talking some more, and then he goes in and just gives her a big smooch on the lips. Yeah, he just goes in for a kiss, and she didn't back away, or she didn't refuse it as she had been doing thus far, because the thing about Calvin is present and consistently present, which is going to put him at an advantage over Bayou, because first of all, Bayou got a little homophobia going on in his spirit. He is trying to throw money at every situation, which could be problematic as well, and also not present. Like, he has not called her. He ain't sent a pigeon. He's done nothing since the presumed incident that he had with Maurice, whenever he had the incident. So yeah, Calvin's a strong. He's in the lead right now. He is in the front of the competition. If there is a competition, just when you're comparing him and Bio, he might have a one up as far as, again, being present and being consistently present, especially with all that she has going on currently. All right. Preston and Danny, they are just small talking, whatever, just being brand new in love all over again and just rolling around in the hay or whatever. And Danny offers Preston to hit the vape, right? THC, that's prevalent in her particular brand of vape pen. And he's like, no, I barely drink, and I don't really participate in that. Give me a couple glasses of wine, and I am done. So that should have been a precursor to tell you that my guy is a lightweight and he has no business. And so she keeps pressing, and she's like, listen, it's just a vape pen. Like, it's not any of those hard things. It's not a gateway drug, which I agree. So if you want to argue about whether THC is a gateway drug or not, that's between you and the people that care. Anyway, and she offers him, she keeps pressuring him to get on the vape, and he finally hits it. And this fool loses his mind almost immediately. So he hits the vape pen, right? And now he thinks his heart is racing. He's not sure if he's breathing. He is physically holding his tongue, because he said if he let it go, he thinks his tongue is swelling. If he lets it go, he's going to swallow it and he's not going to be able to breathe. And so it is just dramatics. If you have ever been around somebody where they've been too high, or it's their first time, it's just absolute shenanigans. It is a good laugh, and that is exactly what I got in this scene with Preston. Now he wants to go to the hospital because he thinks he's dead. He's forgotten how to breathe. He has started crying. Like, my guy is just a mess. And Danny told him, like, listen, before he took the little couple puffs that he did take, she was like, listen, got to go into this with a clear mind. You can't be thinking that the bad's going to happen, because basically you're going to manifest that. So you need to be in a good headspace. All that went out the window, because Preston he's sure that he is a ghost walking around at this point. He think he has died, and Danny is just not telling the truth about his situation. But yeah, and this particular fiasco is going to go on and on and on, because we see in the projections for next week's episode, I keep saying next week as if I'm making this video last week when it's Monday and the new episode comes out Wednesday. Either way, in the next episode, in the projections for the next episode, you see where he is still dazed out of his mind. The next day, so much so he is putting on Danny's work outfit, and he's just staring off into space, and Zach is just outdone with the whole scenario. Now, how he gets there, we don't know. We'll figure that out next episode. But Preston he's done. He is done. And the lesson there is Danny should have listened when he said, listen, it ain't for me. I'm not your guy. This ain't what you want. And y'all gonna learn. Y'all gonna learn to listen to people when they say they can't handle these substances, because they're gonna prove you to be right every time. So, yeah, that was funny. That was hilarious to me. All right. So the prosecutor comes back into Maurice, and he's telling him, like, listen, I went to go get the DA so she can come talk to you. I think it's the guy that tried to get him to turn on Sabrina anyway. But speaking of turning on Sabrina, we'll talk about that in this scene as well. But he says the DA will talk to you tomorrow, so you need to come back. Don't flee the country or anything. And then he offers him a deal. He's like, listen, we know you're not the brains of the operation. If you give Sabrina up, we'll offer you a deal. And he holds firm to his notion that, listen, she had nothing to do with it, so there's no deal to be made. She didn't do it. She didn't do it. She didn't do it. Okay? And you can just stop asking me. If you won't take me to jail, come on and let me get my 15 years started. But she didn't do it. Ain't no turning on her, because there's nothing to turn on her for. All right, which is honorable. I commend him for, definitely not taking the easy route out by way of throwing Sabrina under the bus, because, again, she didn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve, where she's at in the situation. All right, so Karen is on the phone with her doctor. And from the scene, I gathered that the doctor had given her the results, and she left the results at the office. She forgot to pick them up, and so she doesn't have a copy of what the results really are. And she's gonna go by the office later and get them, because I don't know. She didn't realize she didn't have them. Well, of course you realized you didn't have them because last episode you had a manila envelope, but you replaced the paper in the manila envelope with a blank sheet. I'm so thoroughly confused on that part because, again, you had a manila envelope. You knew that Zach was coming. So I guess you set that whole thing up. You just happen to have a manila envelope and a blank sheet of paper. You set that up because you had left your results at the actual doctor's office, which means you may not know the actual answer just yet. It's very confusing and it's very annoying. And at this point, just find a baby for this daddy because at this rate, you're still going to be a single mom. So it doesn't matter. No shade to the single moms. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, no matter how this shakes out, Karen is not going to be with Zach and she's not going to be with Aaron because she don't even like Aaron and Zach don't like her like that. So either way, you and this baby just going to have to skip off into the sunset. So just go ahead and skip the inevitable and just get it going. All right. Then she calls Pam, and Pam tells her about, everybody being there to clean, and now she insists on coming to the shop. Don't really know why she would insist on going there with, fumes and cleanup and all things that she should participate in her current delicate situation, but she don't want to hear none of it. She's going to go by the shop. Now, what I do hope for her is that she's going to go by the doctor's office first before she go to the shop, but it's Karen, and her priorities are a little screwed up, so who knows? We'll see. All right. Zach is up before Fatima, which is not normally the case because he doesn't have he doesn't have a traditional 9 to 5. He normally sleeps in. And she's like, well, why are you up before me? And he's like, listen, I'm going to be up so I can keep an eye on you. Again, still being precautious and making sure she don't take her ass back over to Karen's apartment. And she appears to be in a better mood. And Zach reminds her, like, listen, you were wrong. You were wrong. Let's just calm down. Let's take a step back. She admits, I know I was wrong. It's just, when the demon jump out, it ain't no stopping her. So, my bad, dog. My bad. And then Zach goes on to tell her that he did offer to help Karen rebuild the shop, just in case, because I don't think Fatima knew that up until this point. And she was like, well, is that really what you want to do? Like she said, I don't hate Karen. I just want her to stop coming on to you. Like, I just want her to stop playing in my face and your face. But it's no actual real beef between us. So if that's what your heart leads you to do, then, ain't no beef. Just help her. She gonna need to help the girl out. And so she's fine with it. And so they're back on good terms. For now. For now. All right. Hayden, he gets up the next day and Tamara is gone. I think they went to bed together, but she just was outdone at the fact that he wanted an annulment. And so she has packed her shit and she has hit the deuces. She gone. Gary shows up and they're supposed to go on their little morning run, I guess, that they normally go on. And Gary tells him, like, listen, it's best that she left you before you begin to like her even more, before you get too wrapped up in the feelings of being with her. Which Hayden got a little bit of sense, and he knows that it's more of his projection about what he feels about Andy and what they're going through, because Andy ain't with his bullcrap no more, and now he's seen her true colors, or whatever the hell he thinks he now sees. Which, is it in fact her real colors, or is it more of a mirror image of projection of how you have been, that she's now feeding back to you that you cannot handle? Questions that need answers, right? All right, moving right along. So, they have that little small talk, and then Hayden is blaming Andy's behavior on the influence of older ladies at work and older clients and people that she's come into contact with. And for Gary, that better explains why she's behaving the way she is, which kind of re-put the battery back in his back, because now he can say, oh, this is not how you really act. This ain't how you really feeling. It's just you being influenced by these old ladies just telling you, how things are going to go, or what they think they know about us. I'm sure that that's going to be his next hill that he's willing to die on, but we'll see. Maybe Andy sticks to her guns. Really doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, so Hayden also asks Hayden asks Gary, like, why do you let's just take a note. Why do you even care that she's acting the way she does? Because no matter how she's acting, she still don't like you. So, whatever revelation you've come to doesn't matter because she still don't like you. She still ain't rocking with you. And then Gary learns in this scene that Hayden does not even know where Tamara lives. And that's red flag, number 2,432 when it comes to Tamara and Gary's antennas. And so he tells him, like, hey, let's just go finish our run and we'll go looking for her afterwards. Now, you don't know where she lives and she doesn't have a job. So the two places that you will begin your search are non-existent to you, so I don't know where y'all gonna look for her at. But we'll see what happens in the delusion that is Hayden and Tamara. All right. So Andy wants to talk to Fatima. She is pissed. I mean, she's like, girl, meet me in my office. You come in my office and you sit down. She's pissed about what happened yesterday, which pissed. I don't know if you should be pissed. Maybe disappointed a little bit, but pissed, not so much. Andy really wants to fire her for her antics, but you don't have grounds to stand on. You can't because it was outside of business hours. And in addition to that, you kind of can't fire her without throwing yourself under the bus because you were hanging out with her. So I don't know. I don't know how that really works. I'm going to say from my experience. So in the military, if you're a superior officer, you shouldn't be dating, kicking it with, going to lunch. You should not be doing anything that gives the image. I don't know how I'm trying to explain, but you would have no business being in relationship, not romantic or anything. You would have no business being that closely tied to your superior, if that makes sense. So, like if you're a captain, you would have no business talking to a senior airman. Y'all ain't got no business at the bowling alley. Y'all got no business at the golf course. Outside of like a group setting or something like that, you would have no business being that intimate because your standard is different, because you're superior, blah, 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 blah. So that is the case, that I would apply here. So you can't fire her without getting yourself in trouble, one. And for two, it was outside of business hours. So there's no job that's being affected by her antics. And so she goes on and asks her, like, hey, how did things go with you and Zach after you left? And Fatima tells him, like, listen, I went back home, we good. But before I got back to the house, I did call the manager at the coffee shop, and she showed me the footage, and they were just sitting there talking the whole time. So the whole bathroom lie that she was trying to tell, I confirmed that it was a lie. And Andy asked her, like, hey, what does that Zach think about you reviewing the footage? And she was like, nothing. I told him, we're good. I trust what he said. I know he didn't do nothing. And that's as far as I got. He don't need to know about the footage. He don't need to know, how I did my little trust but verify. So no, he don't know. And it ain't your business to tell him. All right. Moving right along. Then Andy shows Fatima that she's on this high-end dating site. Like, you basically have to be vetted to even, be able to create a profile, and all these rich singles, I'm sure. So basically, it's given I'm over Gary and I'm, moving on to the next, which I would really like to throw a party for, but the way that these shows work, I doubt that it's truly over, but we gonna keep hope alive on this one. Anyway, Fatima knows a few of the guys on the app. One of them so much so that he was dating Fatima and her friend at the same time. So of course you're X'd out of the dating pool. And so it's looking bleak before you even get started when it relates to Andy and this dating site. Fatima goes on to apologize profusely for her behavior. And that's understandable. But what I did want to note here at this particular juncture is that you gave Fatima a lot in the scene. You did. You gave a whole lot of attitude, a whole lot of questions, a whole lot of, I don't want to deal with that no more. You need to get your attitude together. You need to control the inner beast. You need to do all that. You gave Fatima all that. But what I want you to do next is give Karen that same amount. Give Karen that same amount of energy, because Karen also had a role, and her role was a little bit bigger. So if we correcting people, let's just, be fair across the board. Either way, Calvin and Sabrina fall asleep on the couch, and it's all cozy and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I don't have the energy for it. They fell asleep on the couch, woke up. She was so thankful he had to run off to work. Blah. All right. Preston and Danny, like I said earlier, that pretty much summed up the episode. Preston and Danny are up the next day, and he literally has on her skirt and her top that she wears to work, so he is still high out of his mind. And he may well be one of those people. I found this lady on Instagram, side note, and she has like a medication sends her body haywire, if that makes sense. So, for example, if she has a surgery, she has a way smaller window before it wears off than most people. And I know, a couple people like that, they have some sensibilities when it comes to drugs. So he may be one of those people. And so that will be unfortunate, but we'll see what happens, when this thing wears off in the next episode. Zach is also going to drop the check off of Karen. And Andy's still going to be being short and sweet with Gary. And so whatnot. This episode was a little bit dry. There was not a whole lot going on. Not to me anyway, but next episode is mid-season finale, so I'm sure there's going to be some sort of revelations and some cliffhangers to go on. And I think when I read the summary, it was like the battle between Karen and Fatima is going to take a turn that nobody can come back from. Something like that. Like when I read it on the, what is it? Whatever the app is that I look at it on, I can't remember. But it said something to that effect. So I don't know who's going to get beat up, who's going to get shot or something. But something, very major is going to happen next episode. Either way, let me know what y'all think about the episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.